Okay, we'll continue with Gary. I know you both candidates have spoken about this, but on the topic of economic development, what can the county do about the sewer treatment plant smell in the Pleasant Grove area?
You know, Joel indicated in his opening remarks that the county was responsible for that. The entity that runs that sewer plant is a special service district. It's Timpanogah Special Service District, PSSD. And that's made up of a board of 13 people, one from each of the 10 cities that are in the district and 3 from the county. Now, having said that, the commission can do something about it. It's a drastic move. What we can do is disband that board and take the board back ourselves and then make those decisions. I don't particularly want to do that, but let me tell you something. I live in Springdale, so I've never smelled that. I drive through there with my windows down, and I drive around that plant. I never smell it. I need to go on a day. Somebody needs to call me and say, hey, it stinks. But I believe, because I've talked to people, and I've gotten emails, and I've talked to the city council, that it stinks. There are a couple of things that aren't acceptable to me. One is that if we're losing business, if companies are not coming here because of that stink, and we don't have any verification of that, but I'm sure it is an issue. If a company comes and smells that, they're not going to come here. The other issue is, I got an email from a little 8-year-old girl who says, I can't go outside and play with my cousins because I throw up. That is unacceptable to me. Now the problem is the composting. My stand is this, and like I said, it would be a drastic measure, but I'm willing to do this. We've got a gore system that's coming in. It's going to be installed in June or July. But what that does, that gets us through, it doesn't get us through this hot summer that is going to stink. So I am ready, and I've got a letter here from Bruce Call, the Pleasant Grove mayor, that says I wish all the commissioners were as action-filled as you and that sort of thing. I'm going to move that. I want that compost moved off-site until the gore process gets here, or the truck, and get it off there. When the gore system gets in, we bring it back and see if it works. If the system works, great. If it doesn't work, that composting is gone for good. Now we're going to ask the district to do that. If they don't do that, then some drastic measures will be taken.
I agree with Commissioner Anderson. This problem has to be solved, and it has to be solved now. I wish they'd been more proactive. There was a window in 2007, 2008 when lenders were still lending money. If that stink had been gone then, we could have a convention center that wouldn't have cost the taxpayer $40 million. I appreciate his attention to it now, and frankly, I agree with what he said. Let's see a little bit, how this is going to work. If it doesn't, the composting is gone. And but this leads us to a kind of more fundamental issue. Utah County is changing. This is almost painful to say. We were a rural area. I've seen this in the Pleasant Grove, Cedar Hills area. We are rapidly becoming an urban area. We have 550,000 people now. We're going to have 1 million people in 20 years. We're going to have a lot more issues of competing property rights. This is a fundamental issue. Well, wasn't the sewer plant there first? They were creating the stink, so they have the right to make the stink forever. Well, not actually, because the TSSD actually went out and tried to buy smell easements or the right to stink up neighboring property a few years ago. They recognize they don't have the legal right to do it. And so this is something the government actually does do and should do, is define property rights and make clear who owns what. That has not happened out there. It has been a mess. It has taken far too long. The TSSD is a dysfunctional governmental entity. I would dissolve it just because it needs to be recreated in a new way. And I'm going to say this against my own city. The city of Cedar Hills has 1 vote on the TSSD right now. We have 10,000 people. Pleasant Grove has almost 30,000 people, and they have 1 vote as well. It's simply not fair. It's not proportionate. I don't know who created that form of government. It needs to be dissolved and created in a much fairer way so that Pleasant Grove, American Fork, they won't be able to dominate it. Lehigh, Cedar Hills, Highland, Alpine will also be on it, but it should at least be proportionate to what they are. Thanks.